Hello, my name is Christy Aloisio and I'm a counselor at Healing Hearts of Indy in Indianapolis, Indiana. I have been doing a video series on marital fact or fiction. So I've been taking sayings or thoughts or preconceived notions that people have about marriage, and I've been talking about whether those are fact or whether they're fiction. So today I wanted to continue with that series, and today I want to talk about, is there sex after marriage? I think there's a preconceived notion that once you get married that the intimacy dies, the sexual relationship decreases or is non-existent. And that's something that I think people talk about a lot, and something that worries quite a few people as they make the decision to go ahead and move forward and get married. So I will say that sexual relationships are something that I do hear a lot about in my office, that they, clients that I see are often struggling with the sexual relationship. The frequency, how often they're having sex tends to be one of the top issues, listed that they want to fix, that they want to make better in their marriage. So is it the marriage that hurts the sexual relationship? So I would say that there are some times where people get married and the kind of the chase is over of the relationship, the mystery is over. I find this especially more for people who have lived apart and then move in together when they get married, that now all of a sudden the chase, the mystery, the kind of distance is gone, and sometimes that will decrease the amount of sex that a couple has. So I do see that quite a bit as being one of the reasons it decreases. Now, in saying that, generally that's not the reason of the clients that I see of why their sex isn't where they want it to be. It may be an added issue on top of the other things that are going on, but it's not generally the primary reason of why they may not be having as much sex with their husband or wife as they want. So I always feel, or most of the time, what I see is that the decrease in the amount of the sexual relationship is a symptom of a lot deeper problems going on. So I want to talk about 3 of those deeper issues and talk about how they affect the sexual relationship, because if there's other issues going on, it really does seem like the sexual relationship is one of the first things that does suffer in the marriage. So the number one issue I see causing a decrease in sex in marriage is resentment. If a couple comes in here and one person's resentment is sky high, they really don't have much desire to have sex with the other person, because that resentment is brewing in them all the time. They can, they think about it a lot. It affects the way that they look at the other person. It affects the way they hear the other person. So at the end of the day, if you have this huge brick of resentment in between you and your spouse, how much do you want to have sex with that person? Now, the most dangerous thing about this resentment being such a big issue regarding sex is a lot of times one person may be building a lot of resentment and the other spouse doesn't know that the resentment is there or that the resentment's building. So let's say, for example, in this scenario, it's the wife that's building a lot of resentment. And a lot of times resentment is built simply because, not simply, but part of the reason that it's built is because the wife doesn't speak up, doesn't say what's on her mind, starts to shut down, she holds things in, and then all of a sudden she's brewing this resentment. And the issue with that is the other spouse, the husband in this situation, doesn't know that the resentment's being built. And so he just thinks, I'm not getting any sex, this isn't any good, what's going on, fix this. And I'm like, oh, no, we can't fix the sexual relationship until we deal with the resentment that is going on in the marriage. Again, resentment does affect how one spouse hears the other one, how they say things to the other one, how they see the other one. And so until that is taken care of, their desire, attraction, and feelings of being intimate a lot of times are not going to be there. So it's about looking into that resentment and working through that issue. And a lot of times as you do that, the sexual relationship will automatically improve if the resentment improves. So to me, that is one of the biggest issues and reasons why sex starts to die in a relationship. And it's a snowball. It's like as that resentment builds, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and then the sexual relationship decreases and gets less and less, and then the other person's anger, frustration about the sexual relationship starts to grow and kind of get out of control. So it's not a good situation all around, and we got to figure out why the resentment's getting built and how on both sides of that marriage we start to get that to decrease. So another reason that I think sexual relationships suffer in marriage is when there's addiction going on. And when I say that, I don't want you to think alcohol, drugs, because those are two big ones, but you have to think alcohol, drugs, a sexual addiction, a relationship addiction, a work addiction. All of those things can affect the amount of sex that's in a marriage. If somebody is actively in an addiction, any of those that I listed, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, there's obsession about it, and a lot of times, the sex just starts to die because they're so busy concentrating on whatever their addiction is, as to where the other person, again, the word resentment, usually is building resentment because the other person's an addict, and that combination just starts to, decrease, the amount of sex that's in the marriage. To be addicted to something else, even work, you have to be disconnected from your spouse. And when couples are disconnected, again, sex is one of the first things generally to go in that type of scenario. Another big one in sexual addiction, if somebody is having sex with other people, viewing a lot of pornography, having a lot of sexual fantasies, a lot of times it can affect, quote unquote, a normal sexual relationship. And there's a lot of deeper issues in that we would need to work through to get the relationship, the intimacy back into a relationship. So if there's any sort of addiction going on, that's definitely going to decrease the sex that the couple's having. And the third one is if somebody is enmeshed with somebody else. So enmeshment is when two people are too close together and there's no boundaries, and we get enmeshed at the beginning of relationships. It's what the honeymoon period feels like, but you can also be enmeshed with other people in your life that aren't just your spouse or intimate partner. So in this category, when we're talking about enmeshment, decreasing sex, obviously if your spouse is enmeshed with somebody else in a sexual, romantic nature, such as an affair, obviously going to affect your sex in the marriage. But also, people can be enmeshed with their kids. They can be over-involved and too connected and rely on them too much and too focused on the kids, and that can cause a decrease in sexual relationship. People can be enmeshed with their jobs, which is similar to, being addicted to your work. So those type of relationships outside of the marriage, whether it be another intimate relationship or just an enmeshment with friends or kids or somebody else, will cause a decrease in the marriage sex because they're too focused on other people, or too over-functioning or over-involved with other people to, really give the time and the energy dedicated to create the connection needed to have sex in their marriage. So, to answer the question, is there sex after marriage? Absolutely, there could be sex after marriage, but unfortunately, sex is one of the first things that kind of starts to go as other issues start to arise in a marriage. So, if you're listening to this video and you're really relating that the sex life in my marriage is not where I want it to be, it's really important to get to the deeper reason of why is it there? What are the other problems going on? Because almost always it's a symptom, and we need to fix the bigger problem, and then the symptoms get better. So if you have any other questions, or want to come in and see me, or you have another idea or an additional idea of something you'd like me to video about, please contact me. My email address is Christy@healingheartsofindy.com. That's CHRISTY @healingheartsofindy.com. Thank you.